Regan Slaymaker for International Boxing News. Now, the pleasure to be joined by former WBO World Champion Barry Jones. Barry, how are you today, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Excited like everyone else for this this massive event, of course, and that's what we call them, don't we? They're not massive fights anymore, massive events. Yeah, interesting.
What's your opinion on kind of this fight? Obviously, there's a lot of perspective being placed on Ngannou's performance against Fury. Obviously, Joshua coming off with some great activity, but what's your opinion on the fight?
Well, I think if this fight was made before Ngannou had boxed Fury, I'd be the same sort of mindset against the Fury fight. It is what it is, you know. Like it can be competitive because you've got one guy who's been a world champion, against a guy who's never boxed before. That's where it would have been. But now he has boxed against Fury and did so well. Now there's an intrigue in the fight, isn't there? All of a sudden, it's not just a guy crossing over from another sport. It's a guy who's come over and pushed. Many people think is the best heavyweight on the planet in Tyson Fury. So that makes it more intriguing. Though saying that, I still fancy Joshua to do not just win, to do a really good job. I just think the way that he keeps his shape well, I think he'll be there to be hit easy. Ngannou was going to have to go searching for the target, but also he'd have to deal with straight direct punches down the middle, and whether he can deal with that. So, and if this fight was made before Joshua's last fight, I'd be worried more, because Joshua still lacked that confidence to commit to his punches. But now against Wallin, he showed a better mindset where he believed in his jab, and his footwork was better, and he punches for the target with his right hand. I think that Joshua that we saw should do a job on a guy who's only had one fight.
Definitely. Do you think Joshua's kind of activity, obviously, he's had those 3 fights in 2023, he gained a lot of momentum. Do you think that would be kind of, it's a bit of a telling sign going into this fight?
Of course it is, yeah, because I think he's built in every fight, got better every time. So, against Franklin, he boxed well, but but not the way. The thing with Joshua, every time he fights, like any of the top guys, you're looking at them, not who they're fighting now, with a view to how they would that performance will compare against the big guys. And for him, it's always Wilder, Fury, and even Usyk again. So against Franklin, he boxed well. He thought that's not going to beat any of those. And then against Helenius, he didn't box as good, but he got a better finish. And so the finish was great, and he built up that confidence. You think, well, again, he wouldn't get to that. He'd be getting totally outboxed or get knocked out by Wilder or boxed by Fury and Usyk. So he wouldn't get the opportunity to land those shots. But against Wallin, Wallin was a good fighter, but it wasn't really about Wallin, it was about how he performed. And he was confident, he had better footwork, he looked more relaxed, he committed to the jab. It's always the jab for him. The jab's right, everything works off it. And he got the jab right, and everything worked off that. And then once you land that big right hand, you feel with confidence, it takes the confidence away from your opponent, and then you start, muscle memory kicks in. The other step, then you're happy being close to the target, sitting in the fire, sitting in range, that's 3/4 range, working uppercuts through the middle, throwing hooks with conviction. And we've seen the Joshua, I don't want to say the Joshua Bold anymore, because it gets a bit boring, but the Joshua that we've seen in the past, a confident guy, so he comes to this fight full of confidence, so he should do the job. But Ngannou has the power, and he showed good structure to his work against Fury, and he's athletic. And also he's fighting with no fear, because if he loses to Joshua. And I'm just a guest in your sport. That's what he's thinking. But he's not anymore. He's a real boxer now. But I mean, that's all he can say. So there's no pressure on him to perform. He's just getting paid stupid money. He can't believe his luck. So and all you got to do is go out there. And when you have that freedom and that no expectation, weight of expectation on you, you fight with the freedom. And you can sometimes, most of the time, you get swallowed up by the guy who's you're fighting because he has the pressure because he's the better fighter. But quite often, you see sometimes a guy overperform because there's no pressure. You just do what you do. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, no one thought it was going to work anyway, including yourself deep down. You believe in yourself because you lie to yourself to get that confidence to fight people who are better than you. We've all done it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And against Ngannou, it almost worked against Fury. It didn't work, I don't think, but he got close to it. So against Joshua, you got to box in the same vein. Go out and go for it.
Definitely, and I think that we will see that. I think that's why the fight's so intriguing. One fight that's been released on the undercard is Rey Vargas defending his world title against Nick Paul. We were talking off camera. I can see your reaction. I mean, that's violence in a fight, isn't it?
So when Nick Paul, he's just a fantastic fight. It is. I thought if he gets the world title shot against Vargas or Figueroa, stylistically great fights. Figueroa especially would have been an absolute war. But Vargas isn't a guy who likes to throw lots of punches. He's tall, not as tall now as he was with the bantamweight, now at featherweight. but still tall and rangy. But I think the timing might be right for Nick Paul. It's a hard fight for him, and it's above the level. I mean, against Isaac Dogbo, that was the perfect fight you need for a world title fight. Like Barry McGuigan, before he boxed Pedrosa in the world title, he had a harder fight before to get, just to make sure you were good enough to fight for a world title. So when he got to the world title level, even though Pedrosa was an all-time great, he's at the end of his career. Still good as a beat Barry, but he had the acid test before that, and I think against Juan Laporte. So that was the one. That was a really hard fight. It was a close, hard fight, but he did a great job and he won. And that was sort of like, I think that was not as good as Laporte, but I think Dogbo was that for Nick Paul. A really hard acid test before you fight for the and which we all should have really. None of us really never had. We all should have that test before you fight for the world title. Then you know what you can do, what it takes to become a world champion. And he'd have to go through tests to beat Vargas, and he'd be up against it. But I think he'll win.
Definitely, I don't think with all the tests that Nick Paul's faced in his career, you call them tests on paper, and then he goes in there and he bowls them over. I think that's why he's particularly exciting. And you did do your kind of preview for 2024 with Boxing News, but I'm going to ask you one of the same questions again, Barry, because I love listening to you basically. Who's your fighter to watch out for in 2024?
Who did I say last time? I can't remember.
Did you say Jared Anderson?
I'm on the spot. Does he Jared Anderson was need a breakout year? I think that's what it was. I think is it to prove something with Jared Anderson, wasn't it? I think it was to prove something. I can't remember. There's so many. I think for me, I think Andy Cruz is the guy. I think he wins the world title this year. I think the lightweight division is still good. It's opened up a little bit now, and I think he'll get a world title shot. And the fact that him and Keyshawn Davis might continue that rivalry from the world championships in the amateurs, for the worlds in the amateur side of the Olympics to now in the professional game, both brilliant talents. But the way Andy Cruz went through Stratford with ease. That's a guy who of course, is a good fighter, can be hurt, is hittable, but for your second fight, that's a real test. And he walks through like it was nothing. And so I think if he gets that balance right, with showing those sublime skills and that Cuban background that he has, to being more aggressive as well, like he did show in that fight, in his last fight, his second fight only, then I think for me, by the end of the year, if the opportunity arises, I chuck him in the world title. I think he wins it.
Do you obviously Shakur Stevenson's kind of the king, one of the kings at that weight. Would you put him in there? Obviously, you've got Lomachenko, Kambosos as well. Who would you like to see Andy Cruz at that world level in with this?
Well, I think he beats Kambosos. I know Kambosos is one of those guys you think everyone beats him, but then he has that innate toughness and world rate to get through you. So but I think the WBO's vacant now. I think so that might be an opportunity for him as well. I think Shakur Stevenson might be the future of world boxing, to be fair. But I think Andy Cruz right now will give him a test. I think, but I probably stay clear of that. Lomachenko might be coming to the end, but still good enough. And because he's stylistically still boxes the same way he boxes an amateur, but just a little bit more aggressive, I maybe just keep away from it if you can. But still, for Andy Cruz to get a world title, I think that the WBO route would be the best route for him. But listen, I think if he can get that, then chuck him in everyone. I think, and he's a big guy as well, so he might move up to super lightweight quite quickly.
Definitely, one of my final ones, Barry, as well. Fellow Welshman Joe Cordina, I think it's been announced that he's fighting Anthony Cacace on February the 17th as well. A fight that kind of obviously is technically a unification with Cacace having the IBO as well. And obviously, do you think it's a fight that kind of Joe can get through?
Yeah, I do. I think it's been a frustrating time for Joe since he won. Obviously, when he won the title, then he got taken off him, got stripped of the title, then he won it back against Rakhimov. But then he had to go to Monte Carlo and box Vasquez, and he underperformed. But he got the win. That's all that matters. He got the win. Cacace's one of those danger fights as well. But Joe, I think he's not a big name. I can do that. I'm more talented than him, and he is. And I think he can get the win. I think he can. I think he will. I think he should. But it's a danger fight. You got to be. Remember, it was only a while back that all of a sudden he was going to get that Shakur Foster fight. And then Navarrete would do talk to him all of a sudden. And then Lee Wood was mentioned moving up, and he was going to fight Lee Wood. And all those fights have disappeared. The Shakur Foster went to Top Rank, so he's on ESPN, not his own. That makes that almost impossible fight to make. And Lee Wood's going to box Josh Warrington in the rematch. So all of a sudden now, those big money fights are nowhere near. Those unification fights have disappeared. So he has to defend his title like every other champion. But when you're mentally going one place and you have to go to another place, it's difficult. I think he showed that in the Vasquez fight. So it shows his mental force, he has to get up for these fights because they're all dangerous fighters. They're all good fighters. Cacace has waited his time and he gets the opportunity. But I do think Joe can do a job. My biggest worry about Joe, I don't think he's a super featherweight. He never was. I don't think certainly he's not now. He's a lightweight. And making that weight all the time, the older you get, he's 31 now, that takes its toll, and that's a worry for him. So I think, the problem you get, when you're not in fortunes, you're not a superstar, or he has a good name, the title defines you. So you move it up another weight. Lee Selby had the same problem. The title defined him, so he had to stay at featherweight. But ultimately, I think Joe would get the win. But it's a great fight. And Cacace, you've had to wait so long to get an opportunity, he will show up.
One fighter that kind of has wanted to fight Joe Cordina for a long time is Shakur Stevenson. Obviously, both. Well, Joe Cordina probably going to move up, like you said. I think Charlie Sims, his manager, said that as well. Would you like a fight between Cordina and Shakur Stevenson?
I'd love to see it. I wouldn't put Joe a favourite, of course. You'd have to say Shakur Stevenson would be a massive favourite. So I don't think it's a realistic fight that Joe would win. But Joe's very skillful, and he ticked all the boxing against Rakimov. He showed that power against Ogawa. He showed the resilience, the work rate, the chin, all those things you need to be a champion. So he's a hard man to beat, and he has the great skills as well. But Shakur Stevenson's a little bit special. Though he underperformed in his last performance, but he still won at the canter. So, but you want to be in the big, you want to be a world champion again, but you don't want to take the easy routes all the time. You want to fight the best if you can. And all fighters like that, you take the money where the money is, but ultimately, when you look back at your career, you want to go, I boxed that guy. Win or lose, I boxed that guy, I boxed this guy, and I went for it, and I boxed the best I could fight, who was allowed to fight, and that's all you can do. So I think if he could fight Shakur Stevenson, he'd take it. And that would be a great fight for British fans. But Shakur Stevenson would probably be looking for bigger names now. That's the problem. If he was still super featherweight, that would make sense because it would be unification. But now he'd be looking for bigger names, I think. So that would be a hard fight to make. I think if Joe moves up the lightweight, which I think he has to for his health, he's going to have to force his way back into a title shot, unfortunately.
Definitely, and I wish I could see that Cordina Stevenson fight. I think it'd be great. Barry, my final one. Thank you for giving me your time today, mate. We ask everyone this question: what does boxing mean to you?
Boxing's been my life. So, since I was 10 years of age, and so as much as I love it, I hate it with equal measure. Like you guys must find out what you're doing. It's the most frustrating sport, but it's like a drug. You just can't get up. So it's my life. It's changed my life for better and worse. I come from a council estate in Cardiff, which wasn't, which was a nice place to live, but I mean, there's no money there. So, and I wouldn't have been a drug dealer, or I wouldn't have been in prison. I wasn't one of those kids, but I would have had. There's nothing wrong with this. A mundane life. My life has mapped out what I was going to do. Work for the council, which I did at the time. Married the girl I'd known for 25 years, which is nothing wrong with all these things. They're lovely. I'm not slagging them off. But boxing as an amateur opened my life. I went all around the world. I seen things. I achieved things. I achieved stuff. I was never the worst at anything in school, but I was never the best at anything. So I was a good runner, but never the fastest. I wasn't a good football player, but I get in the team. I was a rugby player. I wasn't good, but I get in the team. But I was never excelled, and I found something I was good at. And it took a time, and so it opened my world to everything. And then obviously professional, it changed my life. And then I had the downslide after that. But then obviously doing what I'm doing now as a pundit and a commentator, it's opened my life again and given me security in my life. And so it's who I am. I don't know what I would be without boxing. And that's as lovely as that is. That's the problem with ex-boxers when they retire. And that's why that's why the charities put in place that help boxers, because that's the transition. You're defined by the sport, and then when the sport's no longer in your life, what do you do? And I had that for a long time. I retired. I was 10 years out of the sport before I came back on Box Nation. It was the channel used to exist, and that changed my life again for the better. But I babble on here, but yeah, I love boxing. Like everyone else, and probably says the same thing. Boxing is my life. Without boxing, I don't know what I'd be doing.
That was one of the best answers to that question, Barry. And please, everyone get Barry Jones on commentary, because I think he's absolutely excellent.
Yeah, I think that. My kids think that, and my bank manager thinks that as well. So yeah, thanks.
I think the whole of Twitter think that as well, Barry. But thank you very much for your time
My
today.
pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers.